in some ways I wish I could take today's kids back to what it was like in the 70s. You know, the 70s and early 80s was quite a thing for kids growing up. Of course, there was some wars, and there was, always disasters and wars, and today in some ways things seem worse. But I wish they had the same experiences that we did before the internet happened, and when they could just go out and play on bikes, and the garden hose was probably the greatest home arcade game you could get back in those days, just squirting each other with it and drinking from it, when you got thirsty. And I kind of wish the kids today could feel that experience. I was watching this little YouTube video about growing up in the 70s and what it was like, and brought back a lot of memories, really. A lot of good memories. You could just, like it said, you could just go, you weren't on the internet looking at all this stuff. You were out exploring your neighborhood, and usually with friends. You usually didn't go biking alone everywhere. You usually had other kids around that they wanted to go biking or do things like that. And that made life so much fun back then. And I can still remember a lot of home cooking was done, and we got to eat, in some ways, more healthy food. Yeah, there was a lot of things like sugar cereal and a lot more candy, and you could go to the candy store, and I guess to a point when you're a kid you can burn that off. Some of it you can't go overdo it. I know that, as it does show up in older age with different problems. But the 70s were fun, and technology was all based on what you could literally touch and handle. If you had a record, you could put that record on, and you could look at the artwork inside, the slipcover, and it was great. And then later on, everything stayed the same. Everything was basically, everything was tactile, and you got to touch the thing that you were interacting with, whether it was a game or a movie or a record. And yeah, it was great back then for that sort of thing. And I do remember how we would go on these trips and go to the store, and how my grandma would give us money for comic books and a chocolate bar. And I mean, simple things like that. I used to have to help my dad a lot. He did a lot of, he worked full time, and then he was always up to something, whether it was getting firewood ready for the winter or fixing a vehicle, or he seemed like he always had some chore for me. So I guess it was kind of good. It kind of taught me how to work hard and how to be responsible. And I didn't miss my child at the same time. Dad did enjoy the things that we enjoyed, and made sure, Mom and Dad did, that we had fun Christmases. And so I do miss those days. And I kind of wish that the kids today could go back to that they could just sort of experience that for a few years, and then to be able to compare what it was like before smartphones and cell phones. And of course, I'm using a smartphone now to talk to you and to connect, but I suppose there's nothing I personally or you can do to stop technological progress. And in some areas it's been great because it's helped medically people, but in other areas, social media, and that has been a disaster. It's been a disaster with so much misinformation. It seems like we spent decades building up knowledge and testing and science and learning, only for it to be sort of now all under question, and nothing from the old times works. Everything, we got to tear it all down. There's nothing good there left. And I don't think that's true. And I think young people and older people today should keep in mind that we you know, we did have some good things. We did learn a lot, and there are life experiences. And they're saying now that, for example, your brain is not the only thing that remembers things. That your body, that your gut, so to speak, is a real thing. Now, that's something years ago people talked about. It said, you know, if you feel it in your gut, then go with your gut and all. And you know, you sit down, you rationalize, well, this is going to cost so much if I pay for this or I buy that, and or you know, or whatever. I'm going to build something. It's going to cost, and it's going to take this long, and so much of this, so much of that. But and it's good. I think we have to keep our gut in check a bit with our mind, our brain, our mathematical left brain way of thinking. But I think we're also, one thing we're missing today is to go with our gut, and they are learning that we, when we interact with other people, when we are in different situations and we learn from those things, it's almost like our gut stores that information. It's as if our stomach's little microbes and bacteria or a type of nanobots, that they could actually have their own memory, such that if we, you know, we come and you know, neurosensory stuff and all this technical whatever, it's almost like when we come in contact with another person, we get to we have this knowledge built up about what people are like. So I guess that's the point of this video, really. If you think about it, if kids today just spend all their time online, and there's this terrible stuff and people taking advantage of children and all this crime on the internet now. And the thing is that I think if kids could go back to the times when they could just go with their gut, when you get to meet kids, when you interplay with kids in your community, you get to kind of know, you know, you start knowing, well, that, you know, I won't name any names, but there's always that, you know, Johnny or Sue or whatever. But you do get the sense that you find out what it is. Like you get a feeling about those people and the experiences you have with them, and you start to know, can I trust that person? Can I really? And sure, we can be fooled, that's for sure. But I do think this being online lacks that human touch, that ability to actually be in the physical world, and whatever it is, it's our neurology or whatever it is about our bodies that can sense, like basically how the whole understanding of how hairs stand up in the back of your neck is for different reasons, and you know, like of evolution, the things that we've learned and passed down through, you know, through our animal selves, in which we are animals. And we get to understand, we get to know that maybe this person is coming across and they sound right, but we have a gut feeling. I don't think you can get that gut feeling so much on the internet. I think now, especially as things starting to go with AI, and people aren't even choosing their own words anymore. You know, AI is writing things up for us, scripts, books, dialogue, and as I said in another video, pretty soon it's just going to be some AI representing us talking to someone else who's being represented by AI. And you're not really going to be able to get that feeling, to know, to rub shoulders with people and to go with an almost smell in a metaphorical sense. I don't know what a better way of putting it could be, but that you can sense, that you have this sensory perception that this person is good, this person is bad, and I like this person for these reasons. And that's what we're missing. And I think it's leading us away from who we are as animals and our understanding of nature and the world, how we interact. It's almost like we're rushing. You know, I'm a science fiction fan. I love a good science fiction, a classic horror, and maybe a combination of the two. And, you know, I love that sort of expands your mind. And you look at all those science fiction shows and you can see from the past, you can see that, well, you know, they envisioned these, you know, hermetically sealed almost domiciles and buildings, and the earth was, or wherever they were living, is almost like a wasteland, and they live away from nature, and they live, and perhaps that's what led to us. Maybe that's where we're heading. Maybe those writers and those TV writers and people and whatever filmmakers, they could see that on the path that we're taking, by omitting physicality in our real world, we're going to end up in a sterile world. And we can't really exist in a sterile world because we're a part of this one. So I'm hoping kids today get to enjoy some time away from their computers, away from their electronics, their games, and their Walkmans, or whatever they use now, AirPods, and the whole thing. I mean, it's cultural, I know, and it's not going to change, but we are going headlong into this world where we're redefining what a human is. And I have good memories, and I'm very glad that I got to live during the 70s, the 80s, some of the 60s even. And I'm sure you can agree with me, because you're probably sitting there thinking, yeah, you know what? We're some of the last ones. You see on these Veterans Day, and you see these people, and you say, my God, there goes that guy's 109. He's the last veteran that fought at Normandy or something, and they know the world that we're going into, and they know the dangers that we're dancing with. But you can say, just like you and I, we're the last. It's the last of us. We're the last of us. We're the ones that know what it's like before technology completely takes over. And I don't know if you're like me, but I feel blessed, if that's the term, that I got to live during the time that I did live in. Okay, that's all from me from Silver Hill. You guys have a great day. Stay shiny, something like that. And have some good memories about those times growing up. We'll talk to you in the next video. We'll see you. Like and subscribe if you want to hear more for us 50 and 60 plus. Take care, guys. Bye.